Hello, everybody, and welcome to another cup of self-empowerment to trust, heal, be thyself. And today I'm warmly welcoming a friend of ours back to the Cuppa Hub today. Natasha is here with us today, and we're going to be having on a journey of healing with the earth frequencies. But today we're going to be going on a journey of talking about crystals. So for those of you who haven't met Natasha, Natasha is an energy therapist, a spiritual teacher and coach and author. She's spent the last 21 years exploring and learning all about energy, where it comes from and how it can help us. Her first book, Freedom of the Soul, is a proactive workbook helping the reader define their spiritual path through energy management. For the last 2.5 years, Natasha has presented Balm to the Soul podcast, which has now over 70 episodes, and she regularly presents teaching days and has a slot on Felixstowe Radio in the UK. Natasha's vision is to promote and teach the principles of energy management by reference to energy healing modalities and the use of energy in our daily lives in order to assist people to live in a more balanced and centered state on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual basis. And thanks to experience in learning about energy management, Reiki, crystals, hypnotherapy, past life regression and future life progression, and life between lives and the soul continuum, as well as a BSc Earth Sciences degree and Masters in Paraphysology. I hope I've said that right. I probably haven't, but you never mind. I tried. Natasha has been able to collate an abundance of information and ideas on how to start looking at the health of your energy field and how to create your own daily routine. And all our offerings can be found on www.dandeliontherapies.co.uk, and she can be found on Instagram at Natasha Price Author. And her second book is going to be released shortly soon. But let's go back. Welcome, firstly, Natasha. Before I've just gone, woo, let's welcome.
Oh, no, thank you, Kelly. It's lovely to be back.
Oh, it's lovely to have you back. And I'm really excited about this one because, I love crystals, and I'm sure I'm not alone on that one. I'm sure many of our viewers today are either working with crystals themselves or, really have a soft spot. And, when they go into a shop, there's always that little crystal kind of winking at them saying, buy me, buy me, buy me, for that reason. So, but we're going to we're going to not talk about the traditional healing of the crystal.
No.
We're going to go in a different way, aren't we? So,
Yes.
maybe give us a little bit more information about what we're going to walk through today, Natasha.
Well, we're going to look at how the ancients saw crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that we are not accessing crystals correctly.
Okay.
The analogy I have is that, we have this computer in our house. We're really proud of it. We show all our friends, isn't it amazing? And we've not even turned it on. And
Okay.
that's my analogy to, there's lots of information out there about crystals, and I wouldn't negate any of that. But I think that we're not actually using them correctly. Because if we look back at how the ancients used them, and how new science is beginning to find out different properties about crystals and what they can do,
Yeah.
you find that there's much more. It's almost like you're seeing a 2D version of your crystal, but actually there's like 5D dimensional aspects to it.
Okay.
So
There's more
that's
than
what
what
we're going
we're
to talk about.
in your belief is more so that obviously we know a lot so much about crystals, but we're basically just scraping the surface. There's so much more that they can offer us.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. And
Cool.
I think, we were talking about earth frequencies, crystals as part of that. But I think we are one of those earth frequencies. We're one of
Cool.
those earth elements. We are on this planet. We can't get off it. We are part and parcel of it. And so I think we function at our optimum, and we would develop different maybe abilities if we were connecting correctly to the energy that flows beneath our feet and through the atmosphere, and water and crystals and aspects of the earth and trees and energy, obviously. It all makes for an interesting package, but we're part of that.
Of course.
That's what's so interesting.
Well, we're also going from a carbon base to a crystalline base in our beings as well, aren't we? We're being up
That's it.
there. And when we ground ourselves, we're grounding ourselves to the crystalline core of Mother Earth. So,
Absolutely.
and when we're going up into the ether, into the cosmos, we're also calling, connecting with those crystalline energies there too. So, it's all around us, not just literally physically the crystal that we might have on our hand, it is there. So,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I think it's incredibly powerful. If you think about volcanoes and
Mm.
the power of the magma that comes out,
Hmm.
it's frightening and it's also awe-inspiring.
Oh,
But that
completely.
is the power. When crystals are formed, they're formed in huge high heats, friction, movement, really violent,
It
you
is
know,
quite violent when you
it
analyze
is,
it. It is, isn't
it
it? It's
is.
very gentle.
That's
Like, we're
how
just gonna
they're
polish the
formed.
side off here and stuff. We're just gonna compress you and burn you and just like really trample you to pieces. But you're gonna be a
That's
crystal
it.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's it. But that is, if you think of a volcano exploding, that energy is within the crystal,
Mm.
and that's why I just don't think we are really totally accessing them to their full potential.
Okay. So, how do you think crystals actually affect us then, Natasha?
Well, we know that every crystal has a vibrationary signature,
Hmm.
and we have a vibrationary signature. We know that. We have all this information in our energy field.
Yeah.
And if you put something that's vibrating like a crystal into our energy field that's also vibrating, the
Yeah.
two will try and find a common rhythm. So
Mm.
we know that crystals affect us quite a lot. But what's so interesting about ancient cultures, one of the facts that when I first found this out, I thought, oh yeah, that explains a lot. Um, is that they believed that the most powerful crystals was the ones that were in situ, that the ones that were they found in caves, literally plugged into the ground.
Uh-huh.
So that's why it's so important for us to be incredibly grounded.
Mm. Plugged
That
into
it's
the
like
ground basically as well. Yeah.
yeah. And then the ancients obviously built all of their temples on ley lines. So it's about the energy that we, um, that we're, so all these elements and a couple of others, like, if you go to ancient temples, there's always something about the sun hitting on a certain date and then it lights up a chamber. And, they were very, very clever.
Yeah.
But that's another element. And light, of course, is an energy as well.
Hmm.
It's, it's a forceful energy. So all of these elements all greatly affect us. But when we get them into combination, like
Hmm.
they did in the ancient temples,
Yeah.
they're much more effective. But we can do that as well.
Okay. So how did the ancients, use the crystals, because obviously we have our crystals, we use them for crystal healing, or we just use them to like, clear our houses or to keep us safe, keep us protected, to bring us, support what we need, the healing that we need. How do you think the ancients used their crystals?
Well, I think exactly as you've just said, very much for protection. We
Mm-hmm.
know, like the Mayan shamans used tourmaline, black tourmaline in their shields and breastplates for protection, and we use black tourmaline for protection now.
We do.
Um, I'm sure they use them in their healing. They were basically inbuilt within their cultures. And
Mm.
what's so interesting is like the Mayans and the Incas and the Aztecs, they all really were focused on green blue crystals,
Oh, I love
which
green
is
blue
so
crystals.
interesting.
Well, I'm
And
really a
maybe,
blue crystal girl. I really do like my blue crystals.
and maybe it's because they were common in the area that they were at that time, or maybe there's something else about blue green crystals, I don't know. But like they revered jade and emerald and turquoise,
Well, it's
and they
protection. Your turquoise is definitely your protection, and like a lot of
yeah,
lapis lazuli as well. It's all protection as
yeah,
well, and
yeah.
it's connecting you with the spirit realm as well. So they were harnessing that power too, using the crystals.
They were, and they used them for divination and scrying, of course, as well.
Hmm.
So within the temples, there are like extracts. There's a guy called John L. Stevens who's written this whole work on the Mayan civilization, and he talks about this pedestal made of volcanic black glass,
Okay,
which is obviously obsidian, and how the priests would stand in front of it and they would get pictures and information about
they're
their tribe.
scrying. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
of course, they were also on ley lines. So again, it's almost like all those factors are coming in. And I've got an obsidian mirror here, and it
Okay.
literally is just you can see it. It's
Yeah. It is
this is
like
a
a
nice.
mirror. Oh, it's
It's a
very nice.
mirror because when volcanic glass develops, it cools. comes out of the magma and cools so quickly that no crystals have time to develop. Hence, it is glass. So you're
Okay.
looking at glass. So they created these pedestals in their temples, and they literally they called it the vision stone, so that
Mm,
they obtained information from it as well. So they were very big, prophecies for the country, for the tribe, for the community. So they use them in that way as well.
okay. It's like how some people would now Skyrim water, for example. They would do it in actual crystal stone, like in
Yeah,
a mirror.
exactly.
Yeah. Ah.
Yeah.
How could we then use crystals better? If you mentioned that you think we're only just like scraping the surface of using the
Mm.
crystals, how could we hone into their energy and connect and use them better?
Well, I do know that there's a lot of scientific work going on, scientific research to use crystals in our healing. And when I say healing, like the traditional medicine, so there's a real merge there.
Okay.
So, we know that rubies are now used in laser surgeries. There's development with using crystals for creating like a false skin for burn victims,
Wow.
this sort of thing.
Okay.
We know already we get quartz in watches, don't
Yeah,
we?
we do, yeah.
We get quartz in acupuncture needles, so all of
Oh.
these things, there's a real sort of merge there, but I think it's becoming more and more. Um, and I think it will be really interesting to watch how crystals are slowly being used
We're kind of
in
reclaiming that
healing.
ancient wisdom, isn't it, really? It's going back
Yeah,
to ancient wisdom and
yeah.
using it for the highest good of all, and not
And they
abuse
were
it.
incredibly clever, the ancients. Incredibly, they seem to have this knowledge that we seem to lose somehow.
They downloaded it.
Yeah, well,
They were
maybe.
open, their channel was open, they were connecting to, higher consciousness. So, obviously,
Absolutely. You never know where it's come from, but I think they use crystals as a way of storing information and being able to
oh,
access that
totally.
information.
Yeah, we know that when, the fall of Atlantis, for example, that stuff
Yeah,
was saved in the crystals, that the wisdom was there. So it was kept safe
yeah,
for everybody to access us.
yeah,
It has been spoken of.
yeah. So we need to find a way of accessing that information because every crystal that we buy will think how long it's been in the earth.
Mm.
When it gets to us, how much information does it hold? How
Like you
much
read,
ancient
if you've learned
knowledge?
to read your Akashic records, you can learn to read your Akashic records of your crystals too. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I
Mm.
think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot going on, but I think there's a lot more. But there's some really interesting research going on with crystals as well, which I just find fascinating. But where it will lead, we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, but it's really good that it's all coming online again now. I feel like
Yeah.
literally, as in, it's being brought more to, more normal.
Yes, exactly. It becomes more normal, doesn't it?
It's
Yeah.
reintegrating back what was once lost, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So what factors affect crystals? Obviously they've got all these beautiful properties which we can benefit from when working with crystals, but is there anything which actually affects the crystals?
Well, we found in lab research that crystals will grow 5 times as fast if they're subjected to sound. So we know that sound,
Really?
yeah, so we know that sound is another big, big factor. And
Yeah.
what's so interesting for me is that a lot of the ancient sites and things, I am sure, involved sound.
Oh, of course, they had their sound healing temples, I'm sure.
Yeah, and but often with sound healing, obviously there's not much that can be left to be found by us hundreds,
Mm,
thousands of years later.
yeah,
But I
very.
do think that sound obviously came into it when you hear how crystals are affected by sound, how they love sound,
Or
basically.
think of the crystal singing bowls, for example, how beautiful they sing when
Yeah,
they're molded into
beautiful.
that shape. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, they're very much affected by energy. They
Hmm.
will actually become imprinted
Yeah.
by energy. So if the person who is growing the crystal in the lab, their energy will become sort of part and parcel of the crystal that they are growing.
Mm-hmm.
So the crystal will take up that energy and will become imprinted with their energy.
Okay.
So it's almost like they absorb energy. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what the sound is doing. They're taking up the sound energy and they're utilizing it really quickly.
They're transmuting it, so transmuting what's no longer serving and what's not for the highest good. And we know that with
Yeah,
crystals, when it's protecting us, it's going to absorb what is not good for
yeah,
us and transmute it so it doesn't affect
yeah.
us. Yeah.
And they've also found like a sliver of crystal will sort of, they called it take up the vibrational signature of something, can then be frozen. And
Okay.
then when unfrozen, it will replay it.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's, yeah, so that's quite amazing when you think of the implications for that. That really is like a tape recorder.
Well,
It's
yeah.
recording and then it's
Playing
playing
it
it
back to
back.
you. Yeah.
And then some fascinating research was that a crystal was able to store the vibrational pattern of a person who was passing over. So at that point, the crystal was able to store that signature, if you like,
Ooh,
which I just thought was beautiful.
wow.
Yeah. So they are extraordinary. So when you think of temples, if you think of sound
Mm-hmm.
and if you think of light, that's all different forms of energy. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the temples were full of crystal, quartz rocks, and so it's almost like they are all utilizing all of those factors and working together in that site.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been described by some people like it's almost like a brain. All these quartz crystals and the rocks start firing,
Yeah.
and they create something uniformed in the temple at certain points,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I find fascinating.
It is. It's definitely fascinating.
Yeah, really interesting.
Okay, so you're talking about someone, and you mentioned like people are growing their crystals. So if they're growing their crystals, does it mean the crystals are alive then?
I think I think that they are alive. There is an element of alive. And when I say alive, I don't mean that they sit and chat like you and I sit and
Well, no,
chat.
that would be quite hilarious if they did, though.
It would, it would. But there is, to say that something is alive, they have to have, well, I suppose being alive and having a consciousness,
Yes.
so you just have to be aware of yourself to
Mm-hmm.
have a consciousness. So
Mm-hmm.
a single cell organism
Mm-hmm.
has a consciousness because it's
Yeah.
aware that it is a being. And it is believed that crystals have an awareness
Mm-hmm.
of who they are. And in some experiments, what they found is that um, crystals have, if they're placed under the right situation, they
Yeah.
have a um, very similar light signature, if you like, to a living plant.
Oh.
Yes, and they are affected very much by negative or positive energy. So
Yeah.
what I was reading, it was a bit like a lie detector test. So that it would differ, and they could tell if the energy was negative or positive to that plant by the way it reacted. I'm saying that plant, I mean the crystal, the way
Okay.
it reacted.
I'm understanding crystal anyway. I had crystal in my mind, so I'm sure everyone
Yeah,
else as well.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and author George Hunt Williamson, he
Mm-hmm.
believes that they have an intelligence within them.
Oh, I
So
believe they are as well. I do believe as well. I mean, they wouldn't be able
yeah,
to support us in the way they do, like in the healing arts, if there
yes,
wasn't that ability that was already within them. We wouldn't feel that. We wouldn't be attracted to certain crystals. And then when we wear them or where we hold them, that we would feel, lighter or more soothed or something like that. Definitely
yeah,
there is that consciousness within them. I completely believe that myself too. Definitely.
yeah. And
Mm.
there's so much more research going on as well. They're talking about there will be a crystalline-like computer soon, made simply and it's actually much more efficient than the electrical computers that we've already got.
Yeah.
You know, if you also read about sort of crystals that um, when you stand behind them, that
Mhm.
allows them to act like an X-ray, and you can see, all these amazing. And you think, are they legend or is there an element of truth in it? I
Yeah.
always find like legends and old wives' tales. There's just
Of
a little
course.
element of
There's
truth
got to be
there.
an elephant, 'cause an element, I mean. Could be an
So,
elephant.
yeah, I think they're fascinating. More, if you start digging deeper, if you start researching a bit more on what's going on,
Mm.
it's quite extraordinary what crystals can do.
Okay, so how would you suggest to our viewers how they could work with their own crystals, what they might have at home lying around?
Just start carrying them around. One
Mm.
of the things I always say to people, there's no point in buying a crystal and just putting it on the shelf.
That's
You
true.
know, to affect your energy, it has to be in your energy field. So, my dad, bless him, before he passed away, he had quite sore joints, and he would carry around iron porites in his pockets, and he
Ah,
swore that it made his joints feel
wow.
better. So you've got to have them in your energy field, and just use what you have in the house. You
Mm,
don't have to know what it is. And I actually think, crystals are the DNA of the earth. We know that the earth is changing so much with all these disrupted weather patterns and the things that are going on.
mm,
So how those crystals are going to affect you is going to change. And
mm.
it's about using your intuition.
Yes,
So if
totally.
something appeals to you, you're probably going to find that your energy needs it.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
inviting. It's like an invitation to say, connect with me.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, exactly. So use whatever you have in the house and just start carrying them around
mhm,
and seeing how you feel. You know, does something improve if you've got physical ailments like sore joints?
mm,
Maybe you could put some around your bed, under your mattress so that you're sleeping in crystal energy. And of course,
mm.
you can meditate with crystals. You can ask them to give you some information.
Yeah.
You can ask them to tell you what you need and just see what comes into your mind.
Yeah, to trust that, to really connect, you
Yeah,
sharpen your own intuition, but really tap into the energies of the crystals at the same time. That's true. And I
yeah,
always find, they do talk to you and you will know. I do have quite a few because I do crystal healing as well, but
yeah,
and because I love them. And I also find that they do come into your life when you need them, and there is a reason why you might be attracted to a certain one, which you might previously not think, well, I don't really like that, but you might even be called to wear that on a regular basis for a certain amount of time, and at some point it's like, okay, I don't need that one anymore. That one's done its work. I've kind
that's
of
it.
done what's needed done, and they can crack, and when they crack and break, it's also saying
Yeah,
it's
you
done.
don't need it anymore. Yeah.
Mm.
But they're fun as well. I always say to people, have fun with them, You have to, and you can use lots of them together. I've never had an issue with that. I know some people talk about don't use them together, but you get crystal prescriptions where you can just use them together. And if it doesn't work, try something different, just enjoy them.
Yeah, and if the interest is always there, there's ample ways you can find out more information or learn
Oh,
about crystal healing and
tons of
stuff like
information
that.
out there.
And
Yeah.
when we know that the crystals are also aligned to the chakras to go with the chakra colors, and
Yeah.
you can always go like that. And if you feel like you need to clear something else, and put the opposing color to that one on that chakra, to open it up and then put the right color on, just to send in that energy to come back into you. There's so many ways you
Yeah.
can work with them. Yeah.
Or use them in your space. Put tourmaline near your front door.
I was
You,
just
you
thinking
know,
about Tomlin as well. Yeah, I was just thinking,
yeah,
if you and also if you feel like you need to be extra grounded, some nice black stones are also for grounding, but
yeah.
also for protection too. Yeah.
Smoky quartz is always a great one for grounding. So if you've got some smoky quartz, that really pulls you into the now.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's very
You,
protective as well.
yeah. Yeah. So just start. And like you say, so much resource out there, so many people talking about crystals. So, but it's just trial and error, isn't it? It's just trying different things, seeing how it works, what works for you, what you're drawn to.
Mhm.
Yeah, just start
Yeah,
using them.
definitely. And, you can't hurt yourself, you can't do any
No,
damage. Mm. You
no.
know, and it's an invitation, and I like to, for everyone watching today, I'd like to use this as an invitation for you to tap into working with your intuition more and letting yourself be guided
Yeah,
to the crystals which may be speaking to you. Because if you're feeling an attraction, if you're feeling a pull to a certain crystal, find out why. Get
yeah,
hold of that crystal. Maybe research that crystal, find out what's coming up, see what resonates, take what resonates and leave the rest. Everyone
yeah.
is completely individual, and not everything's going to be resonating the same for every individual.
No, I would say there are, maybe we should just say that there are some toxic crystals.
Okay,
And
well, let's talk about the toxic crystals then.
well, I know that rough malachite, some people would wash their hands every time they touch rough malachite. It's a very bright green, it's full of copper.
Hmm.
Um, and I've never had any issue myself, but I wouldn't start making tinctures with crystals when you put them in water and then you drink the water
No, you gotta
until
be
you
careful which
knew
one.
more about it. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
just be careful with some.
yeah.
I mean, I've never had a reaction. I've never had an issue, but you just never know. So just make sure that you use your common sense, basically.
And if in doubt, you find out and you leave it. If in doubt, you leave it out,
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
yeah. And I suppose if you're feeling nervous about it, maybe it's not resonating with you anyway. So, you know, but
Yeah,
99% are, beneficial, shall we say.
that's always good to know. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today, Natasha, about crystals?
Just that I absolutely love crystals. I've always loved them. They are
You have a
just
favorite?
so let's think. I have some. I do have a favorite. I love the rough crystals, and
Okay.
I love the ones that are full of inclusions. Like as they're formed, other little bits get caught in them,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
and that's called inclusion. And you can almost have like an inner landscape inside a
Hmm.
crystal, and they're just so beautiful. And I have a quartz healing point, and it has a little imperfection, impurity inside it, but it looks like a goldfish,
Oh, wow.
and I just love it. And I use that in my healing sessions a lot, and it's one of my absolute favorites. I
Mm,
just, I love the ones that have all these imperfections that just make them so original. And
yeah,
I love the rough ones that literally are in the state that they come out of the earth, not polished or shaped
I
or,
understand. Yeah. And the
yeah,
clusters are nice as well. I find the clusters are very nice when you're still in the
yeah.
cluster form. That's really
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I find the colours fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that they come out. I mean, I know you can get some dyed ones, but I would only use natural colours, and they come out. I mean, they are just stunning, the colours. And of course, that's all the chemicals when they're formed. Bromides will be red, chlorine will be yellow,
Mm,
rusty colours will be pink or red or um, yeah, iron, as in rusty colored. So yeah, they're just they're just beautiful, and I think they're underutilized. Absolutely.
okay. So on that note, get outside and go and grab some crystals. Maybe go in and find something if you can help them out, or go around your house and see what you've got locally around you in your home, and like get more into your crystals and see
Yeah,
why. There might be even a reason why that crystal is in your room, in your surroundings, or found its way to you. It's obviously come to you for a reason. Yeah.
definitely.
Well, thank you for
And
sharing.
have fun. Have
Yeah,
fun
have
with it.
fun with
That's
it.
the thing. Yeah,
Definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Natasha, for sharing your wisdom on crystals, because it is different, with so much out there about crystal healing and so on. That's why we haven't spoken about crystal healing today, because there's so much information
yeah,
about them.
there is.
It's really just like bringing in, what from the ancients, as you spoke about, kind of how that perspective was, and kind of bringing more awareness to that, and inviting an invitation for us all to see where we can find out and connect to more crystals ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much for having me on,
Oh,
Kelly.
my absolute pleasure. So you take care of yourself. And for everyone who's watching today, thank you for viewing us today. And we hope you enjoyed this cuppa with us. And whether it's the morning, evening, or afternoon, wishing you a rest of the beautiful day or evening. And we'll see you very soon again on another cup of self empowerment. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.
Bye.